Start now. So, colleagues, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all of you. Welcome to the STI Forum side event on capacity building in STI for SDGs. I'm Clovis Freire, an economist of UNCTAD and co-coordinator of the Workstream on capacity building of the Inter-Asian Task Team. I will serve as the moderator for this event today. Let me start by inviting my colleague and co-coordinator of the Workstream, Cornelia Tsinova, a program specialist in the science policy and capacity building at UNESCO. I just ask colleagues to turn off your mic and camera at this point. So when you speak, you turn on your mic and your camera again. Thank you very much. Cornelia, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much, Clovis. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon to all of you in different parts of the world. I wish to thank you for attending the side event on capacity building on science, technology, and innovation for the Sustainable Development Goals, co-organized by the UN Interagency Task Team Workstream on capacity building. I'm delighted and I'm deeply honored to greet you on behalf of the Workstream, which is comprised of various UN entities and international partners, among which we have UNCTAD, UNIDO, UNESCO, UNU, WIPO, the UN Regional Economic Commissions, in particular the ESQA, ECLAC, ECE, ESCAP, ECA.
Nelly, you are muted. We cannot hear you.
I'm sorry. Yes, we are meeting today to share with you our interagency initiative, but also to highlight and raise awareness on the importance to strengthening human and institutional capacities in the field of STI policies. As you know, the side event has been organized in the margins of the STI Forum, which is one of the major rendezvous of STI stakeholders, which discusses how STI can accelerate sustainable development. And one key element is capacity building. We focus our work on capacity building to better understand, better set up and implement the right STI strategies and policies, to strengthen the science, policy, and society interfaces, to connect the dots between the STI and SDGs. And capacity building is an important subject and key challenge of all countries, developed and less developed countries. And it is also what have united our work as IATT Workstream. In this context, we would like to share with you our achievements so far and to hear your views on how we could collectively advance and develop our programs. With this, I would like to pass back the floor to my colleague Clovis, who will moderate the panels and open discussions with you. Thank you, and over to you, Clovis.
Thank you very much, Cornelia. So, colleagues, the event today will have two main parts. First, we will hear from members of the Workstream about the needs of capacity building for STI for SDGs and on the work that we do, the plans for this year and the future. Then we will have the interventions from partners sharing experience and providing recommendations. I would like to ask you to add your questions in the chat of the MS Teams. We will have a Q&A session at the end of each of these parts. We will have a very tight schedule today, so I'll ask the understanding of my colleagues, the speakers, to stick to the time. And if I may have to ask you to wrap up your intervention at some point, I really ask your apologies in advance. So with that, let us then start with our colleague, Professor Ludovic Alcorta from the UN-IATT, that will help us to contextualize this event and to frame it, the need of capacity building in STI for SDGs. Ludo, The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Clovis. Hello to all the participants in this webinar. As Chloe just said, my name is Ludovico Alcorta. I am from the United Nations University Merit Maastricht Economic Research Institute for Innovation and Technology. My presentation will be very brief, and I will focus on three questions. Who are we? Why do we need capacity building? And finally, what is our approach to capacity building? Who are we? We are just a set of UN agencies and partners which focus on science and technology for innovation. We started at work in 2015, right after the SDGs were approved, and for 2 years we worked on collecting all the information regarding what was being done on STI within the UN system. On that basis, then we identify which areas for capacity building we could provide, and we started at work. This group is organized around a number of ideas. The first idea that runs this group and drives us is that we want to work as one UN. We are a single team, we work as a team, we coordinate all the work together, we rotate our leadership, because we really want to echo the views that UN is working as one single organization. The next idea on which we are built is that we want to bring all the knowledge of our agencies. Each one of our agencies has a different angle on STI, so by putting all this knowledge together, we can certainly contribute to the knowledge that our member states required. And finally, we have a very strong belief in capacity building as the only way, or one of the most important ways to help member states to deliver the SDGs. So these are the principles on which we are based. Now, why do we think capacity building is important? I think there are a number of reasons. There are about 6 reasons that I have identified that we think that are important for us. The first one is to disseminate the advances in science, technology, innovation, and to draw their connections with the SDGs. The field of science, technology, innovation moves very quickly. There's a lot of thinking and new knowledge being created, but and how to connect this knowledge to the SDGs is an important role for us, and to disseminate it to the member states is one of the reasons why in capacity building. We also think that we can help fulfill the knowledge gaps and knowledge demands of many of our member states, and we can assist them into solving problems that they face in achieving the SDGs. I think our capacity building trainings are designed to achieve that. We also think that we can increase awareness and the local skills of policymakers, and to empower all stakeholders involved in achieving all SDGs. That's another reason why we think our capacity building efforts are crucial. We think that by our work, we can align, make more consistent, provide sustain and sustainability, and share responses to the work that's being done by policymakers in many countries to achieve the SDGs. So we make consistent and compare and align different countries and different perspectives together in order to achieve the SDGs. We are also supporting the change processes in many countries. In the end, achieving the SDGs involves a significant change process in many countries. And we think that through our capacity building activities, we can contribute to those change processes. Finally, we think that by our capacity building efforts, we can help to increase the operational efficiency of many STI organizations across the world in their delivery of the SDGs. We're working strenuously to help countries and help organizations, STI organizations, to improve their delivery and their specifically of SDGs. The third point I want to mention, and on this point I will close, is what is the working stream 6, which is the working stream from capacity building of the interagency testing. What is our approach to capacity building? And I just want to make 2 or 3 points very quickly here. The first is a point of focus. What do we focus on? And we focus on STI policies for SDGs. We focus on the areas of design of policies, implementation of policies, and monitoring and evaluation of policies. That is the focus of the activities we undertake. In terms of content, we try to address first state-of-the-art knowledge. So we are trying to bring the state-of-the-art knowledge to our member states. We are also experience-based. The UN has one very important strength that we try to build upon, and that is that we have immense comparative experience across countries and across issues and topics. So we try to bring that comparative experiences to all our trainings. Recently, we have been not only working on international and regional level, but we are beginning to move at the local level, which gives us a much broader perspective in terms of the knowledge that we can bring. We're also very demand-driven in the sense that all our trainings are based on what we learn and what our participants demand. So we adapt our knowledge to demand, and we are a learning-based capacity building group because we try to build pilots, learn, listen to what we're told, and build new knowledge on that basis. As I said, one of our more important advantages is that we have an international and regional comparative perspective that probably is unique because we both are a global organization, a regional organization, and increasingly also a local organization. And that is a uniqueness in our delivery. 2 more points, and quickly I finish here. The first point is that we are, as part of our learning process, we are beginning to zoom in to issues that are being raised to us, and we are trying to provide much more depth into our trainings. Issues of implementation, for example, or issues of entrepreneurship, or more specific policy instruments related, for example, for entrepreneurship, are being requested from us. And one of the trends in our trainings is to go more and more in depth into specific issues that are being demanded. And finally, the content of our trainings also includes the things that are discussed and are part of the interagency task team. For example, we are trying to include work on roadmaps, which is part of the work that's done in other working streams. Eventually, we'll look into issues of gender financing, which are also part of working stream. We are, by the way, we are doing this work in collaboration with the Joint Research Center of the EU. We are also experimenting on our delivery, but on that point I will stop, because how are we delivering what are going to be delivered in the next few months is going to be taken on by a few of my other colleagues. Thank you very much for listening to me, and we'll pass the floor back to Clovis.
Thank you very much, Ludo. Thank you very much. Colleagues, I ask colleagues, participants that have just joined, please turn off your mic and turn off your camera so we can have only the speakers in the screen. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate. I also would like to bring to your attention that in the chat you will find links to the page of the Workstream on capacity building, and you'll find more information about our work. And also we have shared the agenda and the flyer. So with that, now with this briefing, I would like to invite 2 colleagues. First, Nibal Idlebi as Chief of Innovation Section of the UN Economic and Social Commission for Western Africa. She's a senior expert on knowledge society and technology for development. And also our colleague, Nicolo Giglo. He's an Economic Affairs Officer at the Division of Productivity Management at the UN Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, ECLAC. They will be telling us about a little bit of the work that we have been done. So now to you, Nibal and Nicolo. Nibal first.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for participating in our side event. In fact, SQA was delighted in 2018 to collaborate with 7 UN agencies in the framework of WS, in the framework of Workstream 6, to organize the first capacity building workshop in Amman, in Jordan, in the Arab region, in April. In fact, it was in April. It was very comprehensive capacity building workshop on STI for SDG, as it lasted for 5 full days. And 13 experts from the UN agency participated in delivering the speeches and the presentation and the sessions. Then it was really very interesting combination of the UN agency all together to deliver their point of view about STI for SDG. 31 participants from the Arab region participated. They were from middle to high-level decision maker from different background, from government, from academic sector, from academia, and as well as from research center and even private sector who participated. They were really enthusiastic to learn about STI for SDG. The course, it was very interesting for them as it was an occasion to give them a kind of holistic approach and holistic view about STI for SDG and from different perspectives of the UN agencies, starting from the formulation of policy, monitoring the implementation of policy, having the different component of national innovation system, which is really very important, and the government has important role. And also, participants were able to have some sessions, interesting session about the impact of innovation on economic growth, on productivity, on entrepreneurship, on the productivity of SMEs, and so on. Then it was really very holistic approach and very interesting because as a group of the UN agency, we were able to tackle different issues, including research and development, education system, and so on. Then it was really very comprehensive, and participants were very happy to have this. This workshop, it was really very important for the Arab region because the Arab region is in that transitional period where many countries are willing to move towards knowledge-based economy and towards to diversify their economy. And therefore, the role of innovation and science, technology, and innovation was quite interesting to see how they can rely more on science, technology, and innovation to enhance their economy and to enhance their system. In addition to that, of course, as mandated, they were all, we identified the role how the STI will accelerate the achievement of SDG, where all member countries, all Arab countries are committed to this UN agenda. Us as ESCWA, the Economic Commission for Western Asia, we are really supporting our member states for innovation, and we are supporting them in different way by providing them with knowledge, with the exchange of experience, capacity building workshop, as well as some report about these important issue, either for enhancing productive sector, as I mentioned, or for really building the innovation system in the Arab countries. Also, I mean, Ludo mentioned the importance of innovation for entrepreneurship, and this has very important aspect for the Arab region because we have, I mean, high unemployment and we have a lot of young people. Then the role of innovation for entrepreneurship, it is really crucial for the Arab region who are really moving ahead, and they are moving from one stage X to stage X+1 in a way or another. Then today we are looking at technology, how science, technology, and innovation can enhance a specific sector like transport sector, agriculture, industry, and so on, specific sector which has important role for the Arab countries. Based on the feedback that we received from the participants in this workshop, we can say that it was really very successful workshop. They all acknowledged that the knowledge was really very important for them and for their daily work as well as for strategic work, and especially this that they have this comprehensive and holistic view about innovation and how it can help them in their in boosting the innovation in their country. Additionally, it was for them a very good occasion for to have best practices from all around the globe, not only from the Arab region, but also from the from other regions in the world, and to have best practices. Also, it was very important, the networking exercise, the networking between the 30 experts from the region together with the UN experts. It was very interesting networking exercise, and they were able to build connection and to have some exchange of idea and so on. All of the participants acknowledge that they would love to have a repetition of this capacity building and to have advanced one either at regional level or even at national level. Thank you. Over to you, Claudius.
Thank you very much, Nibal. I would like just to ask our colleague Obi. Obi, you have connected there. You have your camera open. Can you turn off your camera, please? Obi, if you can turn off your camera, it should be in the part on the upper part of your screen. Okay, we'll try to contact Obi to ask to turn off his camera. While we do that, Nicolo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Clovis. And well, good morning, good afternoon to some of you, and good evening to some of you. Let me share some thoughts about what we have done in this process. First, I think that we're feeling a need. There's a need for STI policy training. I'm feeling that, for example, in the last workshop that it was focused in Latin America, there were 108 participants, and there were people interested. So we had to split this workshop in two to replicate the workshop, and we are going to have a second round of training next week, with another 120 of institutions, ministries, and agencies interested in being trained. So I think that's very important that we are fulfilling that need. On this last workshop, of these 108 people, 77 of them were women. That's interesting too, and they came from 57 of them are directly involved in a ministry or an agency that is in charge of science and technology policy. In terms of what I think what we need to do in the future to improve this process, we have been receiving some feedback from people that participate, and I think there are 3 or 4 main issues. First, we need to broaden the subjects. For example, we need to add something about monitoring and evaluation of science and technology policy. Also, we need to go in deep in some subjects, and there's a trade-off between how deep you go and also how much time can you allocate for this training. And we have to think about that and how we can do it. Some of the participants were missing more time in order to discuss. Also, we need to adapt to specific targets, to a specific group of people, or communicate well to what type of people or executives or professionals are we providing this type of training. For example, in the last training for Latin America, we were very clear that this was an introductory workshop directly to people that is entering in the work field, or they need to refresh some of their their knowledge. What happened in the last training that many people that were in a high-level position thought that the training was not too interesting for them, but we can arrange that targeting or changing, of course, the subject. And also language is an issue. I think that because we did the last training in Spanish is the reason that we have this high response of people that were interested in participating. In terms of the process of this of the workshop, it has very interesting too. This is, as Ludo said, this is a group of agencies. The process has been very collaborative and in a very democratic way. And I think, at least from my personal point of view, it was very interesting to participate in this process. And there's a lot of knowledge and there's a lot of experience in the group of people that are participating in this process. And we are adapting very fast. We have to adapt to the COVID-19 problem. Ival was talking about a five-day course. This course now is online. It's only 2 days, 2 hours per day, and even though it's very short right now, there was a lot of work involved in the process, and because of the knowledge and because of the experience of every one of us, we can adapt, and I think that we can continue adapting to fulfill the needs of the countries or the agencies or the ministries that need this kind of process.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nicolo. Now I'd like to invite our colleague Fernando Santiago, Industrial Policy Officer at the UNIDO, to share a little bit about the next steps and future training programs. Fernando?
Yeah, thank you, Clovis. Good afternoon, good everybody. Good morning, good evening. Yes, I think we already started the discussion on the next steps and a bit of the context of the next trainings. As Nicolo and Ival have been mentioning, I mean, for next week, we expect to have a training session, a replica of the training we had last, like a couple of weeks ago. This time, as Ludovico mentioned, we are going down to the local and regional level, talking to officials from regional governments in Latin America. This will be from 10 through 12 May. We're also expecting in July to have a collaboration. Well, and the first training is in collaboration with ECLAC. The next collaboration we expect to have is in July with the Southern Africa Development Community and the Department of Science and Technology in South Africa. And this is targeting Southern Africa policymakers. We also have pending some negotiations that we had started, but because of the pandemic, we had to stop with several colleagues in regional offices, right, from the UN regional commissions, that we would cover maybe trainings in Central and Eastern European countries, some in Asia, Africa, in collaboration with the Technology Bank of the UN, and of course, as Nival said, also maybe a replica in the ESCWA region. But no, it's not only trainings what we are doing. We're also trying to offer additional materials and access to training materials and information in partnerships, not only with the IATT member organizations, but also with other entities, for example, universities and institutions that work at the regional and global level to foster access to information and knowledge and materials that support capacity development. And we will hear later on some other concrete initiatives on that sense. Ludovico mentioned the delivery models. We started, these very intense in-presence trainings, but also because of the pandemic, we have had to develop new strategies, right? So we have been piloting and testing how to deliver trainings online, which is not always easy or not the same experience that we are used to having, presential sessions where we can interact with the colleagues. But online has been a mode that we have identified as a potential way to remain in touch. So we are also now thinking forward, and hopefully there is a chance maybe later on to have these blended models. We can have a portion of the trainings delivered online, but also as a sort of an introductory activity before having a more interactive and more in-presence sessions, right? And some of the challenges that Nicole already mentioned, that sort of we need to start, we need to continuously improve our delivering, basically taking into account the demand, taking into account the opinions of participants and knowing the challenges. We are also bringing this idea of SDGs, which implies different ways of doing STI policy, not only focusing on economic, but also thinking on inclusiveness and environmental sustainability. So this is an area that requires thinking, and it's not always straightforward for policymakers, right? We also need to invite more colleagues from the UN system and other entities who join us, not only to bring more expertise, but also to sort of balance better and to maybe expand the ability that we have to deliver trainings. And finally, again, this is a matter of also people who might be interested to partner with us, funding activities or developing, facilitating access to some of the activities that we conduct. This is going to be a major undertaking in terms of, creating more space within our own organizations, but also with the constituencies that we serve. And also that will make it easier also to plan and to deliver some of the trainings that we have developed. So this is some of the activities that we have: trainings, access to information, capacity development, and partnerships moving forward. Thank you, Clovis.
Thank you very much, Fernando, for sharing this with us. Now I would like to invite Angela Sarcina, Economic and Policy Analyst at the European Commission Joint Research Center, to share the information about the MOOC that is being developed. Angela?
Thank you, Clovis. Thank you, colleagues. I'm very proud to join this session today and represent the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. I can say that as a JRC, we are particularly pleased to have joined this work stream in the framework of the United Nations Interagency Task Team, because not only we strongly believe in joining forces, and that possibly will bring us to find fruitful synergies, but of course we strongly believe in the importance of capacity building. So this is exactly what is happening with the group of colleagues with this work stream, and we are starting our discussion on the development of the MOOC, the Massive Online Open Course on STI for SDGs. Just to mention that we have also recently contributed to the recent workshop that was mentioned before by Nicolo in Latin America. Concerning the MOOC, the Massive Online Learning Course, well, the main idea is to provide a capacity building tool to raise the understanding of policymakers, but also of practitioners of STI on new trends in approaches used to mainstream STI for SDGs. So this will be the main focus of this part of the MOOC. The MOOC will be a bit broader because there will be a second part which will be focusing on the JRC developed methodology, the Smart Specialization Framework for EU Enlargement and Neighborhood Region. For the part focusing on STI for SDGs, the MOOC will, of course, benefit from the expertise and experience of members of this working group. We are relying a lot on that, and we are relying on the perspectives so that colleagues will be able to share both methodologically, but also from field experience on the development of capacity building training workshop that we have heard before. In addition to these, the MOOC will build also on the resources and the tools, experiences that were collected also in the work stream in the UN-IATT work stream on STI for SDGs roadmaps that Ludovico mentioned before. For example, I'm referring to the guidebook for the preparation of STI for SDGs roadmaps, but also to country cases collected from the Global Pilot Program. The main objective of the MOOC will be to, of course, share knowledge and practical experiences using different methodological approaches for the formulation and implementation of STI policies for the SDGs. This objective will be achieved, of course, by sharing knowledge on the main stages of the STI policy making process, of course, in the context of SDGs. We will, of course, focus on stakeholders' engagement, on participatory approaches, identification of priorities, objectives. I would say that the entire policy-making process. We are now in a very preliminary phase. So we are starting now to develop the structure of the MOOC, and we have more or less identified the main characteristics that this course will have. This preliminary structure was defined based on discussions that we had with colleagues of this workstream, but also with companies of experts in online learning courses. So far, what we have more or less agreed is that the MOOC will be a self-paced learning course, which will be divided in up to 8 modules. The idea is to have it in English, but we will also have subtitles in other 6 languages. All the modules will have a similar structure with an introduction to the topic and the main learning objectives. Then we'll go to the presentation of the main topic, field experience from countries and also some regional perspectives. And finally, at the end of each module, there will be a test session or self-assessment session. As mentioned before, in terms of content, we would like to cover the main stages of the STI policy making. In terms of targets, the MOOC will be primarily addressed to policymakers, but also, as I said, the STI practitioners and other stakeholders. While in terms of countries, we would like to, of course, address the MOOC to European countries, but of course it will go beyond the borders, and we would like to reach more a global audience. We are aiming at having it ready by the end of the year. We are going through the procurement phase, so it will take a little bit of time, but we are really hoping to have it by the end of this year. We are, of course, thrilled to continue working with you, and we are looking forward to seeing the final result of this work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Angela. Colleagues, just want to alert you that we, as organizers, we cannot turn off the cameras of participants. So I again ask participants to turn off your camera, so we can only have the speakers on the camera. And Mr. Obi, if you can turn off yours, we appreciate. Thank you very much. And I also would like to ask you to add your questions to the chat box, and we'll have the Q&A at the end of the session. So now we move, after listening what we'll be doing and we're planning to do with this work of the capacity building, the IATT. Now let's go to the second part of the event. We'd like to invite first 2 participants of previous trainings to share their experience, how relevant was the training, and any insights to better shape the future activities. We are pleased to have with us Ms. Maria Victoria Lodonho from the Directorate of Innovation Business Development of Department of National Planning of Colombia. She was on the ALAC sessions, and we also will have soon Ms. Faten Al-Jabsen. She's Director of Division of Scientific and Technical Support of Science and Technology sector of Kuwait Institute of Scientific Research. So we'll start with Ms. Maria Victoria. Ms. Maria Victoria, the floor is yours.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation. As well, I say my greetings from Colombia, a beautiful land with an extensive biodiversity and wonderful people. I want to thank ELAC and the United Nations Agency for the invitation to the training workshop for Latin America and policies and policy instrument in science, technology, and innovation for the SDGs. In this, we participate a group of public sector officials from the national level. It was an important opportunity for us with an excellent organization and exhibitor of highly professional level. Additionally, there were useful topics for the work in design, formulation, implementation, and evaluation of public policies. Nonetheless, I would like to make both an observation and in a recommendation for the next workshop that will be held with local actors. I consider it important to include within the themes further discuss the regionalization of science, technology, and innovation. In Colombia, as well in other countries, 70% of GDP is concentrated in only 7 states for the existent 32. And only 4 of GDP goes to the 12 less developed ones. By this, I mean that we do not have enough human capital to implement STI policies in a large of part the Colombia territory. Thus, it's essential to create the condition for knowledge to be the engine of regional development. So afterwards, we meet the challenges of accelerating economic growth, reducing income inequality, and closing for the development gaps. We are ever the STI can be catalyst for development, but we need to decentralize and generate capacity, academic and scientific capacities in territorial areas. That's my invitation to review good practice in other countries to include them in an agenda that promotes the regionalization of science, technology, and innovation. I invite you to work for public policies that's more coherent with our relation and local realities. Thank you for very much for listening to me, and I saying to everyone my best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Maria Victoria, for highlighting this importance of building capacity at regional and local levels as well. Now I'd like to invite Ms. Jabesh. Ms. Jabesh, the floor is yours.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this invitation. I'm honored to be with you today. And I'd like to thank everyone that's here today for being with us today. I was part of the 2018 April STI for SDGs in Amman, Jordan, that capacity building workshop. And to be quite honest, I've been to many workshops and conferences, and I have to say that's going to be one of my favorite ones that I've ever been to. I learned so much from it, and I brought so much back home from it. It was very professionally done. It was very professionally structured. It was interlinked. All the sessions were very, very well made. The workshop drew on expertise from all the different arms of the UN, really relying on the different expertise in different areas, and from WIPO, from all different angles of UN, to really build this wonderful, wonderful holistic picture about science, technology, and innovation development vis-a-vis the strategic development goals. I have to say that I came back home, and I had a training workshop myself, and I delivered it to the 8 decision makers we have at the Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research. So I kind of tried to replicate and summarize the key points that I had learned when I was in Amman. We work on several levels here at KISR, and I wish that this workshop could be provided to a lot of other places that are working on R&D development and STI in Kuwait. I was one that came, but that's not enough. And one of my recommendations would be that it be done on a wider range, maybe with Zoom. This would allow us to do a lot more, and maybe to kind of pay more attention or customize a workshop that is more penetrative and inclusive for resource-rich or oil surplus economies or other economies like Colombia that have we have differences across the globe. The way that training is delivered is kind of a very globalized or standardized process, and that doesn't necessarily reflect all countries across the board on a standard plate, because the SDGs simply are not the same for everyone. The priorities are different across the board. Here at KISR, we're working on currently on something that I had also took back home from the workshop, the Go Spin. We're working on preparing the report for the UNESCO, and I draw back on my experience from 2018, the report that concerns the implementation of recommendations on science and scientific researchers. We're also working on a technology roadmap and a lot of other things that involve forward-looking technologies and niche technologies in a knowledge-based economy. I want to thank you so much for inviting me in 2018. I want to continue to be a part of all the collaborations that we have together, and I'd like you to invite more people like me to spread the knowledge and to have a standard approach to STI and SDGs. Maybe the more this is disseminated, the more of a standardized approach will come about to develop, and then we'll all be talking along the same lines. Thank you very much for inviting me today. It's been a pleasure for me, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jabesh. It's very important what you have highlighted. To now with the online trainings, we can really increase the reach of these trainings, as you have mentioned, that is important. And also what we are doing is also creating this network. Yourself, Ms. Maria Vittoria, and others are part of this network of people that have been trained and will continue moving forward with this relationship. Now, we are pleased to invite two partners to share with us their views on how the work of our workstream can also add value to the things that they do and how can we work together. So we have two with us, Dr. Domisani Mitembo, Senior Specialist of the Multilateral Environmental Agreements, Department of Science and Innovation of South Africa, and Dr. Ines Steeman, lecturer in Futures Analysis and Policy of the Department for Science, Technology, Engineering and Public Policy of the University College of London. So I will start inviting Dr. Mutembo. Dr. Mutembo, the floor is yours. Perhaps we don't have Dr. Mutembo with us at this moment. If not, we can go then to listen to Dr. Ines Steeman, and then we can back later. So, Dr. Steeman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Clovis, and thank you so much, everyone. It's so great to be here and be with you all. So I join you from the University College London, and as part of our research and education work, there are a number of things that we have been doing in the past years in trying to support the work of the IATT in developing global capacity of science, technology, innovation for the SDGs. But specifically with the WS6, so the work stream here on capacity building and specifically the training workshops, in the last 2 years, we've really been asking ourselves, what is it that we can share and contribute in terms of the expertise that we have in developing these blended training approaches, specifically training for policy officials? And actually, can we find a way to have the policy professionals of the future be part of that? How can young people already be a part of the training workshops and the capacity development? So many thanks to UNESCO, who have been incredibly supportive and welcoming and sort of bringing us on board. We've, in the past 2 years, been working together now to develop a model for how to do that. What it's been looking like is we basically empower groups of students. Most of these are postgraduate students, so master's level students. And we give them the opportunity for 6 months to work in groups. And they then look at the IATT and the work that is being done, and they have to independently identify and scope an issue or a problem, something that's a knowledge gap or an evidence gap that they can practically make a contribution to. And then we coach them and support them over that 6-month period. So I wanted to illustrate what that has looked like this year and sort of the lessons that have come and sort of recommendations. So this year we have a really talented group of students, and they have chosen a very forward-looking evaluation question, which basically is, these training workshops have enormous potential to really step change the sort of scale of impact of capacity building in STI for the SDGs. But as you've heard, we want breadth and depth, and we run year-long courses. So with these training workshops, what is it about them that within a really short period of time is able to achieve a similar kind of level transformation? What is it that is working so far in the pilot experiences? For whom, in what context, and why? Now, as 3 reflections, the first has been just how incredibly effective, and that needs to be continued. It has been that, as we heard before, with this ambition of having a shared mission in STI for the SDGs, there's actually still a huge difference in terms of the different participants who come onto the course. Participants have different disciplinary backgrounds, professional backgrounds, like levels of comfort, experience, expertise, seniority. And so what is working really well and really needs to be strengthened and amplified still is allowing for that, and therefore being very responsive and making sure that the content is flexible enough to allow everyone to bring themselves into the room, yet being equally ambitious about the learning outcomes. So as a second reflection in terms of what's working well and what can be further strengthened is a question, well, how do you do that? And one is a balancing of, in terms of the content of the courses, we have a lot of sort of making visible the global work on STI for the SDGs, who's who, what are the mechanisms, what are some of the critical methods and instruments, but to equally then fast track and make sure that the course also brings in practical principles. So things that are issue oriented and that really give people almost rules of thumb to answer the question, well, how can I now use this in my work, in my day-to-day work? So that's been incredible to observe and absolutely something that we strongly recommend is continued. And then as a third reflection is actually that what the IATT is doing here in terms of it's incredibly timely. So at this stage, before rollout and scaling up, to be reflecting and taking this evaluation approach, but specifically to be doing that in such a partnership-based way, in such an open way, it's just really enabling a wider community to be part of it. And so a huge thanks to everyone who's made it possible, and anything that we, maybe as a bonus point, anything that we as an institution can do to share lessons or learnings about what's worked and how you can actually practically do that, would be incredibly delighted to do so. So thank you, Clovis, and everyone, and look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much for the reflections. Really, we'll take them forward, and it's great to partner in this work of evaluating now that we will roll out these trainings. Now, I would like to invite again Dr. Dumisani Mitembo. Dr. Dumisani.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think as South Africa and the Department of Science and Innovation, we delighted to partner with the interagency task team to provide training for our parliamentarians and our officials in STI. Recently in South Africa, we adopted our new policy on science, technology, and innovation to refocus our STI endeavors and strengthen our system of national innovation. As you probably know, that to be able to come up with good policies on STI, the role of policymakers and parliamentarians becomes very critical in ensuring that there is leadership, and also that policies are responsive to the challenges that we face. For example, a cursory look at literature shows that most of African countries are facing challenges to design STI policies that deliberately focus on development challenges. This is attributed in part, among others, to poor awareness and understanding and weak political participation on STI policy and STI policy literacy. So there is also a challenge, for example, that we tend to perceive STI as being technical, which then becomes a challenge in that we tend to rely more on consultants and in developing these policies, thus depriving us the opportunity to maximize and capacitate ourselves and our systems in terms of delivering on good policies. So in light of this, we have identified capacity building on STI policymaking as a critical area that needs focused attention. And as South Africa, and we are partnering with the Southern African Development Community, as well as the Inter-Agency Task Team to develop a policy and to develop a training that will help us to capacitate not only our parliamentarians, but also our technocrats, so that they are able to come up with policies, STI policies that are responsive to the challenges that we face. As you know, STI policy is very instrumental in attaining the SDGs as a catalyst for their implementation. And therefore, we hope that this training is going to further help us. We're also partnering with a number of stakeholders in addition to the IATT. We're also partnering with UNESCO, as well as Transformative Innovation Policies Consortium that is led by Sussex University. As you have heard earlier, I think Fernando alluded to that fact. So we are hoping that we're going to have this training sometime this year, and we're really delighted and looking forward to having this training being conducted, and we'll looking forward to continued partnership in this area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mutembo. Thank you very much, colleagues. We had two comments on our chat. One from Jacinta dos Santos from Timor-Leste. She was asking to be actually as request to be informed and participate in the next training. We'll get in touch for the next training, Jacinta, and our colleagues as well. We also had one suggestion is to have from Cesar Dario Guerrero to have programs building leadership capacity in young scientists, and there was a suggestion to link with a science leadership program developed by the Global Young Academy. Thank you very much for that suggestion. We'll take a look on that as well. Colleagues, unfortunately, we are very pressed on time, so we need to have another event like this to further develop these ideas. At this moment, I would like to ask back Cornelia to come and say some final words for the closing remarks of this event. Cornelia?
Yes, thank you very much, Clovis. We have arrived at the end of this side event, and we would like to thank you all for your participation and valuable inputs. This will guide definitely our work in the future, how we reorient and develop further our programs. So thank you very much for this input. I would like also to thank our partners, our colleagues, of course, who are contributing to this joint initiative with great dedication. And also thank to all the officials who have participated in previous training workshops, in online sessions that we have organized. We are very glad to have you as part of our network. So just to say that on behalf of the IATT Workstream, to reaffirm our commitment to further develop the program, to really best serve the needs of the member states. And we will continue building upon the previous achievements, also expanding on our partnerships and also building our networks together with you. Thank you very much, and we wish you a very pleasant day and also a fruitful STI forum, which is about to begin. Thank you very much, and goodbye to all. I think we can close the meeting. Over to you, Clovis. Thank you very much.